What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Motorfest. And as you all know, today is indeed Wednesday, which means the new summit is now live. So this week, guys, we have the Japanese Touge. And as you'll see when recording this video, which is obviously like 50 minutes after the summit did come out, I am indeed in first place right now, which I would say probably isn't going to last very long. But for this summit, guys, we obviously see the Purple Surprise Smoke, which I do hope the Purple Surprise Smoke does indeed look good and does give us a surprise. That was honestly terrible. And then in gold, we have 100,000 bucks after that. And then in silver, guys, we have ourselves some free drift parts, which is always helpful. And then for some odd reason in bronze, only 5,000 spare parts is kind of odd. I would say at least 20,000 is going to be a decent amount. And then, of course, guys, next week's summit is going to be the last one until like the next main stage update. So this one is indeed going to have the second car that was part of a summit in Motorfest. And I have to admit the Honda S2000 is looking pretty dope. Obviously 50,000 bucks there and or 50,000 XP toward the main stage. That way it gives you a chance to actually max this out before the next update. But I would say, guys, this summit's also going to be pretty dang interesting. It looks like it's going to be primarily based on Street Tier 2 and or Tier 1, giving us two different speed traps and a slalom. But moving over to the summit here, guys, I would say overall this summit was honestly pretty dang fun. As I did mention before, I'm most likely not going to stay in first place long. I am now in fourth place and or getting up tomorrow morning. I am most likely going to be even higher, but I have to admit, guys, this summit was honestly insanely fun. And if you are wondering, these 5 events here, and or I guess you could say if you did want to use a different car on them, you can, except for this one obviously being the Lancer. I do want to mention, guys, I did run the exact same car on all 5 of these events, so is the Lancer Evolution X going to be the best drift car you can run on some of these events? I would probably say that's most likely going to be a no, but I do like running oddball vehicles in these summits to show that you can get platinum, even though they're not going to be like the best car for that matter. Not only that, guys, I also did this with a base vehicle on not only the races, but also the actual drift events as well, so it's definitely going to be a win. But besides that, guys, jumping into this now, so obviously these two events here are indeed going to be drift, and I would say, to be honest, guys, they're probably going to be insanely simple. Do keep in mind, though, you guys definitely want to have all of your legend points on slippery and or hothead, and make sure when going over that vehicle that you at least have that perk on every single part, specifically a gold part to have the highest percentage. But I really do think most people are probably going to have well over 150k, mainly because I would say both of these drift events are insanely simple, and I really did find them to be very easy to do even with the Mitsubishi having base pro settings. Now, if you guys are wondering, the other 4 events in this summit are indeed going to be races, so using a drift car in a race is probably not going to be the best thing, and or something you would most likely not want to see that often, but I have to admit, guys, the Evolution X is probably going to be a great car, and it does seem to honestly handle very well. So the first event here is going to be Clutch Kick, so the Evolution X, guys, and or any drift car for that matter, is probably not going to be the best thing around corners. So a few things I did notice, guys, when going through this summit. So obviously you'll have to go around the corners as fast as you can, and I would say a drift car going around a corner obviously wants to drift, hence, sliding around the corner. But nonetheless, though, guys, I would say slowing down into like second and or third gear, at least depending on the car you are running, is probably going to be the best way to keep your speed up around these said corners. So this can also go for the Hawaii Drift Days as well, guys. Like, I did notice the biggest thing about these events is making sure you guys are in the right gear around the corners. That way the car does drift, and sometimes the car also does grip at the exact same time, so that is definitely going to allow you to get the most speed out of every corner. Now for the next event, guys, I did notice the one you actually have to use the Lancer Evolution X is obviously going to be in the rain, and I would say if you play the Tokyo Drift song in the background, you are honestly going to have a great time on this event. But the biggest thing here, guys, is obviously gripping as much as you can around the corners, and I did notice, though, guys, if you can drift, doesn't actually affect it, and you can still get a lot of speed around them by actually drifting. So obviously gripping is probably going to make you quicker, but I did notice, though, guys, you can still easily get around these corners by drifting and or being in like the right gear to maintain that speed the most. And I would say even drifting is probably going to be a decent way around the corners. But if you are obviously looking for the quickest way, you most likely have to get more grip. And obviously, guys, with this being in the rain, that's going to be a challenge with a drift car. Now, the last event up here, guys, is indeed going to be with the Nissan 370Z. So I do think at first, guys, a lot of people might be like, dang, this car is terrible. My goodness, I really wish this car was better. But I have to admit, even with base pro settings, guys, the 370Z is probably one of the best handling drift cars. Like, it honestly compares like a street tier 2 and or like a tier 1. So I would say, guys, the Z34 is going to be a great overall car for like the drift events, even with base pro settings. And then for the three bottom skills, guys, they are all indeed going to be slaloms, so I would say at least for this week, they're most likely going to be very straightforward. I actually decided to run a hypercar on these, which obviously isn't the best option. If you guys are looking for like the highest score possible, an Alpha GP is by far the best way to go. Overall, though, guys, I really did have a great time with this summit. Like, having the entire thing based on drift cars really does make these insanely interesting. Now, I do want to mention, though, I will be having a few videos in the next few days, not only going over, like, the best part build you can have right now for a drift car, but also one of the easiest vehicles you can run to level them up. I definitely recommend staying tuned for those in the coming days, but if you guys have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insight.